What's up, Scorpio? This is Jesse with 44 Astro with a super new moon solar eclipse tarot reading. It is a solar eclipse coming up. It is a new moon that will take place on April 8th, 2024. It's going to be at 2:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will be at 19 degrees Aries, which puts it in the second mansion of the moon. I'll put that up. It's all about overcoming conflict. It's a good time to ask for a raise if you want. Not really for making friendships or getting into relationships. You can read about it. But we need to talk about this solar eclipse and kind of what a solar eclipse is and what it represents. So what a solar eclipse is when the moon blocks the sun's light, right there, for a very short amount of time. But what this does is it forces us to look at our darkness. So what enlightenment is, regardless of what people tell you, is when you open and have a connection between your outer solar attributes and your inner lunar attributes. When they come together, that's what alchemy is. That's what you always see the sun and the moon in the pictures, and then an eye, because it gives you the vision. And in tantric and Hindu traditions, during solar eclipses specifically, they believe that you could grow exponentially, spiritually, exponentially faster during a solar eclipse, because it basically represents the entire year, the birth, the death and rebirth, which is in the fall and winter, everything's dying, and then in the spring and everything's reborn again. That's why Easter takes place during spring, and it's a Christian holiday that represents the resurrection of Christ, the Son of God. So why they believed it was exponential is because it basically is the entire year taking place in a single celestial event. So think of it like that. It represents the light being blocked and us having to be forced to look at our dark attributes or our shadow. And therefore, we are forced to deal with them or heal them. And what's even more extreme about this is they're both at 19 degrees Aries exactly, so zero orb, and it has to be for an eclipse. Chiron, the asteroid, is also at exactly 19 degrees Aries. So this is an exact zero orb, which means 0 degrees separates them. It's a perfect aspect between these three planets in a conjunction. They're sitting directly on top of each other. Now, what is Chiron? Chiron is the key. He's represented as a key, and it's for a reason, and I'll explain that in a second. The mythology is Chiron was a centaur that taught Hercules, that taught Ophiuchus. He taught Ophiuchus so well in healing that he made individuals immortal. And this upset Hades. He went to Zeus and was like, this can't go like this. And Zeus said, okay, and killed Ophiuchus. They put him up in the sky, which is right in between Scorpio and Sagittarius, which is that 13th sign of the zodiac they talk about, the guy holding the snake. And then right above him is an eagle. That's why it's very heavily scorpionic. This is the dark spot of the zodiac, the 13th sign of the zodiac. I'm not going to get into it too much. All my planets are right around there. That's why I kind of focus on it a lot. But what Chiron is that centaur that taught them. And when he was teaching Hercules, I can't remember exactly, he was attacked, and then there was arrows that were dipped in the Hydra's venom. And one of the arrows that was shot by Hercules hit Chiron. And Chiron was immortal, so he couldn't die, but he couldn't heal from the venom. So he was always sick. So he was a healer that couldn't heal himself. And that's kind of what it represents in astrology, and I'll explain that more in a minute. But what it represents on a mundane level is like an individual has a heavy Chiron in their chart, they're liable to be a sickly individual. Like if it's on their ascendant or like on their sun and it's like a lot of aspects on it, they're likely to be very sickly, or they're likely to be a hypochondriac, somebody that really doesn't want to get sick and takes major precautions in it. But on a more sacred level, Chiron is what you call the rainbow bridge. Saturn on in, right? Saturn as a planet, his orbit is about 27 to 31 years around the sun, right? And every planet inside there, Jupiter on in, is a short orbit. So there's a lot of movement in the inner planets. That's why it represents the individual psyche and the individual attributes, because there's a lot of nuance to it, because there's a lot of movement. Because there's a lot of movement, you're going to get a lot of different variations, and therefore it's very individualized. The outer planets, on the other hand, Uranus on out, is collective in nature because they move so slowly. They affect entire generations. So they're more of the other side of it, which is the spiritual side, the collective side, no boundaries, right? And the bridge, the sacred, the bridge between the mundane material, which is ended at Saturn, the guardian on the threshold, or Satan, the ruler of the material world. Past him, getting past the guardian of the threshold, you get to the sacred, the spiritual, the collective, the no boundaries. And the bridge in between them is Chiron. That's why he's a key, because it's the key to getting to linking our outer solar attributes to our lunar inner attributes. So the eclipse represents that, and it's going to give us a shortcut to it. So it's a good time to practice spirituality, meditation, fasting if you physically can. Don't if you can't. Whatever your spiritual practice is, it will help you grow by leaps and bounds. But Chiron is also the bridge from the mundane to the sacred, the inner to the outer, as above, so below. So it's a very powerful celestial event occurring to where we can, as individuals, can grow greatly right now. And it's a supermoon, which means it's as close in its orbit as it can get to Earth, the moon. It's an elliptical orbit. On the edges, it's further out because it's an oval. But when it's on the sides, it's closer. So its influence is going to be felt. And the sun is in Aries, which is exalted in Aries. And it's in the second decan of Aries. There are 3 decans in each sign. According to the Western system that I use, there are 30 degrees in each sign. Therefore, it's split into 10 degrees, 10 degrees, 10 degrees, so 3 decans. The sun is in that second decan because it's at 19 degrees. He rules that decan, the sun does, and he's exalted in Aries. So it's also very powerful energy right now between the sun and the moon, along with Chiron being there, the rainbow bridge. We are going to have to look at the dark aspects of ourselves. We are going to be forced, and for a Scorpio, that should be no thing. That's our life, having to face those things and then burn it to the ground and transform. So we're going to be forced to look at them, and they're going to be forced to acknowledge them so that we can grow and heal them. Well, healing is to grow. I don't like really the word healing, but it teaches us something, and therefore we grow and become more. So growing is the better word. So this is a perfect opportunity, and the world at large is going to. This eclipse is scary to a lot of people because it's in Aries, which rules war, and there's a war going on in Ukraine, a war going on in Palestine, right? So we're going to be forced to look at this, the darkness in our world. And it's either we're going to come to a resolution, we're not going to stand for it as people, we're going to be like, we're not about war. Or we're going to see how dark it really is, and it's going to expand. It just depends. It can manifest either way. Okay, Scorpio. Now that I've explained the astrology and all of the solar eclipse and the astrology a bit, I'm going to get to your reading. Work through your fears. That's a Scorpio card. This is a good time to do it. We're going to be forced to look at it anyway. Okay? So that we can be reborn. That's what this is all about. Okay, it's the same story over and over again. The Christ story, which is a really representation of the sun. Zarathustra, Quetzalcoatl, Osiris, the white elephant, which is the Buddha, the miraculous birth of the Buddha. It's all the same story, if you really break it down. And it's a story that we as people are trying to accomplish. And generally, in order to be reborn, you have to lose everything you are, which means being broken completely. That's why it's very difficult to do, and because being broken completely normally ruins an individual, and it's hard to recover from that. But if you can, you come back as something else, and you're open, and you're more clear. Anyway, this could be you right now, Queen of Cups, male or female. You are crowned by worry. And saying work through your fears. This is a fear card, so you're crowned by some kind of fear or anxiety right now, or worry. It's probably you, but it could be another water sign. It's crossed by the seeds that you planted. So some seeds that you planted have either gotten in your way or you haven't seen them manifest yet. And it looks like you haven't seen them manifest yet because the moon's here in the near future. Like there's something clouding it or some kind of confusion around it. And you're not seeing either the results you thought you were supposed to receive, or like you didn't get like whatever interaction you have with an individual. Maybe you're trying to build a relationship or get into a relationship and it didn't work out like you thought. So something like that, or you're not seeing, or you're confused about it. Something you're very confused about. It's got you worried. Could be about a water sign, but it's probably you. And it could be that you're worried about money because this individual's looking down at money. But behind you is something that you worked on in the recent past that you were showing off. Maybe you didn't get the results you thought you were supposed to get. Or you haven't shown it off because you haven't worked through your fears. You're still worried about what you've worked on and you don't think it's good enough yet. Sometimes you just got to take a chance, right? Because in the unconscious influence, right? The conscious influence is worry, nightmares, fear, anxiety. But in the unconscious influence, there's the sun. You can't make this up. The eclipse It's going to make you look at the shadow aspects. It's going to make you look at this worry. You need to feel it. You need to trace the pathology to it. The better you know it, the less it's going to affect you. Know it well, right? Go over it again and again if you have to until it doesn't hold sway. You right now is saying make a judgment. Jenkins, lay down. That's my dog. He apologizes. Make a judgment, or there's going to be a judgment made on your behalf, or you're trying to make a judgment. This is you right now, so it's like you're making a judgment about something. You need to make the decision. It's saying make the decision. Don't put it off. There's a lot of confusion here, a lot of hiddenness right here. This is in your environment. This is another moon card. This can be wisdom for sure, but it can also be secrets. But it's likely secret wisdom. So if you go in and you meditate, if you do some spiritual practice right now, you may be surprised at the answer you get. The wisdom is there. Do a little spiritual practice. It'll take you very far right now. Advice, get moving. The more you work on it, the quicker you get from these stormy waters to those smooth waters over there. You're on the path to doing it. You just got to work through the fears. There's something you're not wanting to do because you're either afraid of the result or you're afraid of how people are going to take it. The sun's on your side, on the unconscious influence. This eclipse is going to help you. You need to practice spirituality, though, right now. Because the outcome is showing you not making a decision. Not seeing it, or not seeing what's right there in front of you. You're going to have to meditate. It's something hidden in like the background around you. It's something that's you're going to have to get like the download. I would suggest spending lots of time in meditation right now. Or spiritual practice, whatever that is for you. Prayer, meditation, fasting, whatever it is for you. Whatever tantric practices may be that you may... And tantric doesn't mean sex. Tantra is so much more than that. It's just something that you're doing for discipline. Tantra really just means discipline. It's a discipline. It's training yourself to be disciplined in specific things. That's Tantra in and of itself, regardless of what it is. That's why having like a routine that teaches you discipline a lot of times. You're not one to see it, which means you're not working through the fears. You're not seeing what you need to see. But it's there for you. It's hidden, and there's an unconscious influence of the sun. Which means you may not be able to see it, but it's coming. The light is coming. The unconscious influence is the light. The light's about to be shown in this eclipse. It wouldn't surprise me that if you had a great epiphany or some kind of spiritual experience during this eclipse. That's what this is kind of screaming to me. Like you can't see it right now and you're worried because you can't see maybe the way forward in life. Whatever it is. It could be at work specifically because the work card. Maybe you left a job and you're worried about money because of that. But there's gonna be some clarity that's gonna come real soon. You can't see it right now. But I think this eclipse is gonna show you something. Especially if you take the time to really meditate or really open yourself up. Focus on the darkness. Whatever that is in you. We all have darkness. I don't care. If you're walking around thinking you're perfect, you're lost. Everyone has a dark side, darkness, as well as light. Everything is dual in our reality, and there's all the evidence to support it. Even to say that it isn't is to compare it to the fact that it is, which makes it dual. Checkmate. It's dual. We learn through comparison. That's how our mind works. Two hemispheres. Focus on that darkness, whatever it is within yourself that needs to be healed. Maybe you don't even realize what it is, but this eclipse can show you. It can help you work through that darkness. This is a powerful time. And Scorpio is a very, very spiritual sign. It's the occult sign. If there's any sign that's life revolves around this type of thing, it's Scorpio, for sure. Scorpio is a very profound sign. The spot of the zodiac, that's where the dark spot is in between Scorpio and Sagittarius. That's the alignment with the center of the Milky Way galaxy. That's why it's the dark spot. It's the closest to the center where the black hole is, the Milky Way galaxy. In our solar system, when we're there in that area, that's when it's closest. That's why it's looked at in the way that it is. It's very sacred, very occult. Okay, Scorpio, work through your fears. The sun is backing you right now. The sun is in the unconscious influence. It's there. This eclipse is going to help you, but you have to take time to do the work. Do some spiritual practice. Look inside. You have to look at yourself. No one can do it for you, sadly. It's good to have mirrors around you to help you reflect things that you can learn about yourself, but really all you have is your experience. So you have to look at self. That's where the growth is. Okay, Scorpio. Please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting. You don't have to if you don't want to, but it will help me get monetized. Getting monetized, and it's not all about money, but if the amount of time and effort I put into this, it'd be nice to see some kind of results and then get some motivation to really put some time in. And I'm going to put time in either way, but it's going to be a lot slower simply because I have to work and live my normal life as well. But anyway, you don't have to if you don't want to. I'm just grateful that you are here, and I hope to see you here again. Happy solar eclipse.